My name is Jordan Knight. I'm 34 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I run a small independent fashion label, men's streetwear meets upscale design. It's not a global empire or anything. Not yet. But every stitch, every design, every single fabric choice, it's mine. It came from my head, my hands, and my struggle. And the one person who once told me I had no style. She was now standing on stage, wearing my jacket design, calling it her own. I saw her at a local fashion expo, a pop-up event in downtown Atlanta. The room was buzzing with influencers, style bloggers, and startup designers. I wasn't even supposed to be there. A friend of mine had a booth and offered me a spare vendor pass. I was walking the floor, just soaking in the creative energy, when I heard her voice through a cheap speaker mic. I turned, and there she was, Alexis. She stood there, confidently presenting her new collection to a crowd of about 30 people. She had this way of speaking like she invented minimalism. Her logo was projected on a screen behind her. It looked different at first glance. But as I leaned in, I realized what she'd done. She hadn't just stolen an idea. She'd taken my brand deck, the exact concept I'd poured 2 years into. She changed a few words, swapped colors, flipped the monogram, but I knew what I was looking at, because I designed it. The worst part? This wasn't a random business rival. This was someone who used to sit beside me while I sketched at 2 a.m. Someone who used to say things like, "No one's ever going to wear that color combo, babe." Someone who once told me, on my birthday, no less, that I should give up on design and try something more stable, like social media management. That woman, who used to laugh at my ambition, was now standing under bright lights, literally wrapped in the pieces I almost threw away because she made me feel like I wasn't good enough. And as the crowd clapped for her, I didn't get angry. I didn't storm the stage. I just watched and waited, because I wasn't here to fight. I was here to finish something, quietly, permanently. 2.5 years earlier, Alexis wasn't standing on a stage. She was sitting on my living room floor, cross-legged in an old hoodie, cutting swatches with me for my very first collection. Back then, I was working nights at a warehouse and weekends as a delivery driver. Every extra dollar I made went into fabrics, digital mock-ups, and paying a freelance designer overseas to help me clean up my sketches. I didn't have a team. I had her. Or at least I thought I did. We met at a photography workshop. She was charismatic, camera-ready, and sharp with her words, like she always knew how to pitch herself, even when she wasn't selling anything. I was the quiet one. She said she liked that about me. Said I had a mysterious creative energy. Within a month, we were spending nearly every evening together, me with my laptop and pencil, her with her iced coffee and opinions. At first, she was supportive. She'd give me ideas for slogans, comment on color combinations, even model in a few sample shots when I couldn't afford a pro. I trusted her. With my work, with my passwords, with my vision. I even put her name on the Shopify admin panel because she offered to help with marketing and social media. I figured, this was our thing now. Our dream. We weren't making real money yet, but we were building something. I was sure of it. She used to tell me, "You've got something. It's not mainstream, but that's the point. You're ahead of the curve." That meant everything to me. When you're building a business from scratch, one sentence of encouragement can keep you going for weeks. But slowly, that encouragement changed. She started criticizing my designs, not constructively, but casually, like I was embarrassing myself. I remember showing her a limited edition jacket I was excited about, and she wrinkled her nose and said, "It looks like something from a thrift store in the worst way." I laughed it off. Maybe she was just being brutally honest. But that wasn't the last time. The compliments got fewer. The sarcasm got sharper. And the more I worked, the more distant she got. At first, I thought I was just too focused on the business. Maybe I was neglecting her. But there were nights when I'd stay up late, making adjustments to the site, and she'd be texting someone, smiling at her phone, saying it was just a group chat. One night, she left her iPad open while I was folding inventory. I noticed a folder on her notes app titled All Concepts. I clicked it. Every note was a variation of my ideas, just renamed, rebranded, and stripped of my name. I didn't confront her then. I told myself I was being paranoid. That maybe she was just organizing for the brand. That maybe we were building something together, just in different ways. But in the back of my mind, something whispered, "She's not with you. She's learning you." And I ignored that voice. Because I wanted to believe in us more than I wanted to believe in the truth. After that night, I started noticing more. Not big things at first, just small glitches in the rhythm of our life. Her phone, which used to sit face up on the counter, was now always face down. Notifications were turned off. The lock screen changed from a photo of us to a minimalist black background. She used to leave her laptop open while she worked. Now she closed it the second I walked into the room. I told myself it was nothing. People grow. People need privacy. But deep down, I felt it. Something wasn't right. She stopped showing interest in the business. When I asked her to help post product teasers or schedule email blasts, she said she was too swamped with her own side projects. And yet, her Instagram was active every single day. Slick, curated stories, vague captions like, "Next chapter loading," or "Watch me build quietly." It wasn't just that she wasn't involved. It was like she was detaching, slowly removing her fingerprints from everything we once did together. I remember launching a fall capsule line, 5 custom pieces I'd poured weeks into. I was proud of that drop. I shot the lookbook myself, did the edits, stayed up 3 nights straight setting up the back end. I showed it to her before launch. She scrolled through silently, then looked up and said, "It's cool, but it kinda looks like Fear of God light." And then she went back to scrolling her own feed. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and walked away. But that night, something cracked. Not loudly, just a tiny fracture in my faith in her. And once it cracked, the light started pouring in. I started paying attention to the way she'd subtly downplay my milestones, but hype her own, upcoming drop that never seemed to materialize. She canceled date nights last minute, claiming client meetings, but her calendar on the fridge was always blank. I didn't have proof, just a gut feeling. Then came the package. One afternoon, a brown mailer envelope showed up addressed to her. Nothing unusual. But she wasn't home, and it accidentally got dropped in my inventory pile. When I opened it, thinking it was fabric I'd ordered, I froze. Inside was a sleek, custom-printed brand guide. A full PDF booklet, perfectly formatted. On the front, Moda by Alexis. Inside, color palettes, typography, jacket styles, nearly identical to the ones I'd been developing for months. The phrasing in the mission statement was even eerily similar. Streetwear soul. Minimal luxury. Urban resilience. My words. Twisted slightly. Repackaged. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I put it back in the envelope, sealed it, and placed it on her desk like I'd never seen it. That night, I didn't ask her anything. I didn't accuse her. I just watched her. Listened to how easily she laughed while she lied about her day. Studied the way her eyes stayed just a little too still. And for the first time since we met, I didn't feel confused. I felt clear. Because I knew exactly what was happening now. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember that because it was the night after my capsule restock sold out in under an hour, my biggest win to date. I was exhausted but proud. I thought maybe we'd celebrate. I brought home Thai food, her favorite. But when I walked through the door, she didn't even look up from her phone. Just nodded toward the couch and said, "Thanks, I already ate." I didn't say anything. I just sat across from her, watching the blue light from her screen reflect off her face. She kept texting, fast, fluid, the kind of speed you use when you know exactly what you're saying. I asked her casually, "Client stuff?" She nodded, but didn't offer more. Later that night, around 2:07 a.m., I woke up thirsty. I walked quietly to the kitchen. As I passed the hallway, I saw light flickering from the office. Her door was cracked. She was on a Zoom call, headphones in, screen bright. I should have kept walking. But something made me stop. I leaned in just enough to hear. She was talking to a graphic designer. I recognized the interface, a screen share on Figma. They were adjusting logo placements, website mock-ups, and what hit me hardest was the jacket mock-up on screen. It was mine. My cut. My silhouette. The one I developed from scratch and just released last week. The designer asked, "Do you want to change more of the structure so it's not too obvious?" And she laughed. Then said, "It's fine. He's too in love with his art to ever lawyer up." I stepped back. My throat felt dry, but not from thirst anymore. I went back to bed, laid down beside her an hour later like nothing had happened. I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I started planning. Because in that moment, I realized something. She hadn't just stolen from me. She was banking on me being too emotional, too forgiving, too slow to fight back. But what she didn't know is that I had spent the last 3 years building a brand on my own, and I kept receipts for everything. This wasn't heartbreak. This was war. The next morning, I woke up before her. I made coffee, like always, acted normal, and even kissed her on the forehead before heading out. But in my chest, something had shifted. The weight of betrayal no longer sat like a rock. It moved like fuel. I went straight to my storage unit where I kept old samples, sketchbooks, even hard drives from my early design days. I pulled everything out. Drafts, timestamps, raw PSD files, every single piece of proof that could establish ownership of my work. Then I opened my backup Gmail, the one she didn't know about. Inside were emails with freelancers I'd hired from day one, voice notes to myself with early concepts, even a signed NDA from a virtual assistant I once brought on for research. She thought I was just an art guy with no structure. She had no idea I'd archived every step like a damn documentary. I didn't go to a lawyer immediately. I went to 3. One for intellectual property, one for brand identity and copyright registration, and one, a close friend of my cousin, who worked corporate espionage cases. He told me what to do next. Lock down every asset. I filed trademarks for the elements I'd missed. Cleaned up my brand architecture. Watermarked every future release. And most importantly, I began watching her. Every time she posted a teaser on her story, I screen recorded. I archived her site using tools she didn't even know existed. I created daily backups of my Shopify analytics, copyright claims, and invoices. I even reached out to the graphic designer she was using, anonymously, asked for a quote, received a file preview. The design pack? It matched mine line for line. That was the final nail. She had no idea what was building behind the curtain. At home, I was calm, kinder than ever. I asked about her projects, listened to her vent about how hard building something alone was. I nodded, smiled, said I believed in her. Meanwhile, I built a 146-page document labeled Exhibit A, Original Ownership. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge in flames. I was designing her downfall the same way I design jackets, deliberately, cleanly, and with zero wasted motion. Because when I finally made my move, there wouldn't be a second draft. It all came together faster than I expected. The moment she announced her brand launch, a flashy post with her new logo, Moda by Alexis, and a countdown to her first drop, I knew it was time. She's scheduled a release party in Midtown Atlanta, complete with influencer RSVPs and sponsored cocktail partners. It was clear she was betting everything on this. And ironically, she was building it on a foundation that didn't even belong to her. 3 days before the event, I filed a formal copyright complaint through the federal system, with all supporting documentation attached. My lawyer also sent cease and desist letters to every vendor she tagged publicly, including her payment processor, her email marketing platform, and yes, even the company that printed her tote bags. One by one, accounts were frozen, emails flagged, payments held. But I wasn't finished. On the night of her launch, she stepped onto the stage at a rented event space in front of 50 or 60 people. She was glowing, smiling, wearing a tan overcoat, one of mine, remixed with 2 buttons instead of 3. She held the mic like she owned the world. This brand, she said, is for people who want timeless minimalism with an edge. Designs that reflect quiet power. And just as she said the word power, the projector behind her flickered and then went black. One of the guests, a local fashion blogger, tapped her shoulder. "Your site's down," he said. She pulled out her phone. Refreshed. Again. And again. The page read, "This domain has been temporarily disabled due to an intellectual property violation. Contact the U.S. Copyright Office for inquiries." The room fell silent. Another guest whispered, "Isn't that Jordan's silhouette?" Loud enough for others to hear. And then, someone pulled up my original design, posted 9 months ago, on their phone. Then another guest did the same. The murmurs turned into stares. Phones lit up. The dots connected themselves. I didn't show up to the party. I didn't need to. I was in my own studio across town, finishing a custom blazer for a new client, sipping coffee while watching her brand unravel in real time through DMs, tagged stories, and screen cap tweets. She never mentioned my name. Not once. But she didn't have to. By the next morning, her website was gone. Her Instagram wiped clean. The last thing left on her brand page was a 1-line bio that simply read, "Taking time to rebuild. Thank you for understanding." It's been almost a year since that night. I haven't seen Alexis since. No texts. No emails. No half-hearted apologies. She disappeared from the local fashion scene completely. Some mutual contacts say she moved to Austin. Others say she's focusing on wellness. Whatever the case, I don't need to know. Because closure didn't come from her. It came the moment I chose to stop explaining myself and start protecting what I'd built. My brand is stronger now. Not just in sales, but in soul. I don't just design clothes, I mentor younger creatives. I teach them what no one taught me: how to keep your art safe, how to copyright your voice before someone else tries to speak in it. I help them recognize the warning signs I ignored, the ones wrapped in praise and pretty words. For a long time, I thought revenge would feel loud, dramatic, explosive. But it didn't. It felt like silence. Like watching a storm pass from the inside of a house you built yourself. Strong. Weatherproof. Untouchable. I still sketch late at night. Still make mood boards on my walls. Still trust my gut. But I don't design for approval anymore. I design because it reminds me who I am. Alexis didn't just try to steal my style. She tried to rewrite the story of who I was. But she forgot something important. I wrote it first. She took credit. She took followers. She almost took my confidence. Almost. But she didn't take me. And from the part she couldn't steal, I rebuilt everything. Not for her, not for revenge, but for myself. If you've ever had someone steal what you built, tell your story. If you're still rebuilding, you're not alone. And if they said you had no style, show them you don't follow trends. You set them.